Phillip Arnold Auctions is a rebrand name. Originally we were Brendan's Auctioneers, but following the sale of the Brendan's group we decided to branch out on our own, and here we are now. We've taken new offices and in Ealing Broadway, and I'm pleased to say we're still a top 10 London auction house. 2007 was our first auction under the Brendan's brand, and yeah, been growing in strength ever since. Well, the auction market in the UK is very, very strong at the moment. Certainly it's picked up since the financial crisis. We've noticed a lot more people coming to the auction room, much larger crowds, a lot more interest, a lot more is being sold, and at some very, very good prices as well, I might add. Regionally, London and the South East has always been the prime growth area with some incredible prices obtained, no question. I mean, the call for lots in London is still very, very strong. However, regionally, yes, I mean, property is still selling, and whereas probably around about 2009, 2010, we couldn't sell stock in northern areas, Wales, etc. We are now selling lots in those areas for very, very good prices. The Midlands is very, very popular. We had some lots in the Midlands a couple of auctions ago, and from my point of view, the amount of interest we got in those was probably similar to the ones that we get in London. Well, the sector that I'm seeing most growth, I believe, is the residential market. The figures from last year, right across the board, showed a vast increase in the amount raised on residential auction lots. The commercial sector grew as well, not as much as the residential sector. So I believe that the strong growth is still in residential. Whether that will change with the new guidelines on buy-to-let mortgages and stamp duty, etc., remains to be seen. But certainly, up till now, residential has definitely been the bigger growth. And we've had a few probate properties recently. We had one in Chiswick, for argument's sake, that we believe done up was worth 1.1 million, and we sold it for I think it was £1,050,000. So add all your buying costs to that, there's not a margin. We had a little cottage in Ridley Avenue, which is in Northfields, an area of Ealing. Generally done up, they get £600,000. We had a reserve of 400, and the property sold for 553. And believe you me, this property needed everything. I mean, I've seen quite a few in my time, but that was probably the worst one that I've ever seen. But again, I think it goes down to the type of buyers that are coming to auction these days. We do get end users, for argument's sake, so that they're not looking for a profit, they're looking for a property to live in. But they like the idea of auction in that they'll secure their purchase there and then. So that can happen. Certainly with the marketing's completely changed. In the old days there was a printed catalogue, it got posted out. Quite frankly, it used to just be posted out to dealers many years ago, but now it's with the internet evolving, there's a lot more online, which is a completely different way of marketing. There's some very good property portals out there. Phillip Arnold Auctions as a firm, we generally do most of our business online with our marketing. If somebody is genuinely looking for a quick sale, well, auction is the route to go. As I say, fall of the gavel, contracts are exchanged, neither party can change their mind the following day. I think things have changed because I think as people have been educated over the years, as I say, novice buyers, so to speak, will come to auction now. They're not frightened of it anymore. And we have genuinely sold properties at auction that most would consider would be end user family properties. The last figures that I heard, based upon the land registry sales, was I think something like 4% of properties sold in the UK last year were sold at auction, which now that has grown, because a few years ago, I think it was 1.7% or something in that sort of region. So it is growing, but it's still a very small percentage compared to the number of transactions that happen. You know, generally people who come to auction will be serious buyers. You know, they're prepared to pay their deposit on the day. They're there to buy it and to complete on it. 70% of our catalogue is made up of residential lots. I mean, last year we sold £30 million worth of property, so so obviously £9 million worth of that was raised from commercial lots, the balance from residential lots. Okay, well, the auction market going forward, I think there's certainly progressions being made at the moment. I mean, over recent years, there's been the traditional auction, as we call it, the ballroom style, where people come on the day and bid. That will continue. I don't see that changing at all. But certainly in recent years, and in fact Phillip Arnold Auctions ourselves, we've just launched an online auction service, and this seems to be another angle that is coming forward in the market, in that it's eBay style. So, you know, people can, the property goes on for a period of time, say 30 days. People can bid on it online, and at the end of it, as long as the reserve is reached, contracts are exchanged that way. So, so I see online auctions evolving over the next 5 to 10 years in a big way. But I see that as running alongside the traditional ballroom style auctions as well. I think ballroom auctions will still be here for, well, forever and a day. An eBay for the auction world, of course, I think that's certainly possible. It's you know, it's a growing market, and you know, why not? I mean, if you take the standard portal, so to speak, that we have at the moment, for argument's sake, Rightmove and Zoopla have been the main ones. But they've got a legitimate competitor now on the market. So why wouldn't somebody attack the auction world, so to speak? It is very possible. When I say about an eBay style website, I believe it'll be that the auctioneers will feed their properties into it. So I don't think it'll be somebody running it from the top by themselves. So certainly the auctioneers have to remain professional, and they need to do the job properly. I think what sellers really need to know is that they still need to be competitive if they want to consider the auction route. So by competitive, the reserve does need to be below market value by probably about 10%. So that's something to bear in mind. That's the risk factor in auction, whether it's online, whether it's traditional ballroom, because ultimately once the reserve is hit, the hammer will fall. We've got authority to sell the property. Well, I think you've got to remain professional, because you've got to look at their individual needs, because if they are looking to sell their house, they don't mind if they move next month or in 6 months' time. Well, ultimately the best advice is put it on the open market in the normal traditional manner. If that same seller maybe has financial difficulties or whatever the case may be, and has to sell by a certain date, well, they're under a completely different pressure. And crudely speaking, in that circumstance, auction is the route for them, because there's more chance of a certain sale to fit within the time restraints. If a client came to me to put their property into auction today, by the time we've got the legal pack, set up the auction, etc., that it's going into, I would say you're probably looking at a maximum of 6 weeks before you exchange contracts. In regards to overseas money, yes, there has been a lot coming in, certainly Russian, Chinese in particular. Personally, I've seen it tail off a bit over recent months. Now, this is just purely opinion. I just think that's a little bit of a blip, and I expect the resurgence to come back throughout this year, certainly from quarter 2 and quarter 3. That's where I would expect it to come back in.
you.